last question before we take a quick intermission. We will start with Dwayne Pettigrew. How is the best way to draw the line between privacy and security in regards to cybersecurity?
Very good question. I tell you, that one has come up, particularly to our campaign on this, because early on we had some rogue sites that were putting up stuff about our campaign. We couldn't do anything about it. And we even had someone that bought my name, WaynePettigrew.com, and had it sent to a rogue site that spread negative information. Nothing we can do about it. It's been taken down now. But the point is I have a real hard time, if you're going to put something on the internet, you should put your name on it. You should tell people that you wrote it. Because in campaigns, people want to spread, unsavory information like that. And there's nothing you can do about it at this point. So in that essence, I could see maybe favoring some regulation in that degree. But at the same time, do we want to stop the flow of information that we've had on the internet? I use Wikipedia all the time, just from the standpoint of I'm trying to look something up, trying to look up a person's history, want to find out more information about them. The internet has been a great source of information. I would not want to curtail that. But at the same time, I do think if you're going to have something as powerful as the internet, there should be some sort of control.
Thank you. Next is Dwayne Thompson.
Repeat that question one more time.
How is the best way to draw the line between privacy and security in regards to cybersecurity?
I don't know that I have an answer to that. Well, I'll tell you what it makes me think of, though. It makes me think that one of our founders has said that, if you're willing to give up liberty for security, you end up losing both. That's why that's such a very, very difficult question. And I'm going to yield to the powers of technological geniuses to understand more about the internet than I do. Because I am, anytime we turn, the reason I struggle with that is because anytime that we turn to our government, and the problem is we're turning too much to our government. Every time something comes up, we say, what are you all going to do about this? We got to quit doing that, folks. We can't be turning to the government every time something pops up because the government will always be more than happy to take care of more of your business and take away more of your liberty. So that's a very valid and good question. I just don't know the exact answer to it until I can sit down and just listen to what some ideas are. Because anytime the words regulation and government are in the same sentence, I get very, very nervous. Very nervous. In fact, I even have the word no on my tongue, ready to release it if necessary. I mean, that's the direction I'm going in. Because until we can get back to the constitutional enumerated powers, we're going to continue to go down this road of destruction. So I'm going to yield to the geniuses on that.
Next is Dakota Wood.
I guess my frustration is the complexity of the question you asked, only allowing a minute or 2 minutes. This is one of the areas I've actually worked in. So we talk about cyber espionage, cyber attacks, cyber defense. Again, this is not 1780. It's not 1850. It's not 1902. We have about $15 trillion every night in financial transactions that goes between our financial centers and those around the world. What we enjoy here, lights, telecommunications, smartphones, all that stuff, operates via systems that cannot be controlled on a second-by-second basis by somebody sitting at a control panel dialing knobs. These are all computer-controlled systems. The top-level programming structures are called SCADA systems. It's an acronym for a big long bunch of words. I can't answer this sometime. And these things are vulnerable to outside intrusions. So the chief concern is external entities, just like external entities that introduced malware into the Iranian centrifuges to try to stall their nuclear program. The current virus that's out there now that has been working for about 4 or 5 years. These are mechanisms that you can put in place to take down an entire country, to take down power grids, telecommunications infrastructure, hydroelectric dams, hospitals, life-saving equipment. I mean, our world is an interconnected world. If you have a device that is connected to to this global information grid in some way, shape, or form, we are dependent on them. Our government has to be concerned about national level threats that end our way of life if they come to fruition. So in terms of the fine line between personal security, if you don't want your personal birthday on the internet, don't put it on Facebook, right? I mean, part of this is personal accountability. You like exchanging recipes, via MySpace, so we're attracted to those things. Part of this is personal accountability. But it is a different world in the 21st century than it was in 1950. You don't have operators with little buttons, trying to connect the phone call. And so having worked in that environment, I'm just telling you, the threats out there are real, they're present, they're dangerous, they can threaten the survivability and viability of our country, and where the government rightfully steps in is effecting controls with the civilian infrastructure to provide the greatest protections possible to external intruders.
These are all good points, but I want to point out that although our government and although we as a people are more complex and larger than we've ever been, I don't think our Constitution changes. I don't think it's a living, breathing document that evolves and can be reinterpreted over time. If you send me to be your congressman to Washington, I will operate under this question: what is the role of the federal government and what limitations does the Constitution place on the Congress? To use tactics as if we need protection, pass TARP or the country's going to shut down, I'm not going to go in and do what they tell me to do with a scare tactic. I'm going to look at what the Constitution says. And I think the Constitution today is more necessary to protect us from our government than it has ever been. And if you look at what the Constitution says, it allows Congress the powers to regulate interstate commerce. And this bill that you talk about, this question, there was a bill floated in Congress 4 weeks ago over this cyberspace issue. The only nexus that the Constitution would allow the Congress to vote on that would be the Interstate Commerce Clause. How many of you read or heard of the Interstate Commerce Clause? You know how many things Congress has done under the guidance of the Interstate Commerce Clause? They've regulated the sale of guns in Chicago over the Interstate Commerce Clause. They came to Tishomingo, my hometown, and tried to fine my family business, the Dairy Queen, over the purchase of bananas because they said they came from out of the state, although they don't know where they came from. We've seen Congress over the last 237 years do a myriad of regulations on our lives using the Interstate Commerce Clause as justification. And a lot of it has been ridiculous. As to this particular bill, if there is a nexus between the Interstate Commerce Clause and the Act, then I think it gives Congress the purview to act on that legislation. But I'm not going to be your congressman that's going to allow Congress to pass this bill and that bill, claiming that you have to be protected and violate your constitutional rights in doing it. In my opinion, less government is a stronger government. Thank you.